Hey guys, welcome back to the Modern Catholic Life podcast. I'm your host, Dallas, and I wanted to share a really powerful experience that I had today. During my lunch at work, I was able to get away and go to Adoration. There's a church just about 10 minutes away from where I work, and luckily they have Adoration from like 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Wednesdays, and so I was able to break free and I went down there. And before I get into exactly what happened, I want to share that I recently did 2 podcasts with James Caldwell from the Manly Catholic and Blake Smith, who is the founder of Catholic Culture Young Adults Ministry down in South Texas, and he's doing great work there. And the reason, especially why I bring up Blake, is because one of the ideas that he had shared with me in our talk together was kind of like a tip or a suggestion during Adoration. The episodes with James Caldwell and Blake Smith are going to be coming out soon, but here's what Blake shared. He said he was in Adoration one time, and there was someone in there with him, and he was in a moment where he was really frustrated with God. He felt like God wasn't speaking to him. He had been praying and asking God to guide him, to help him make sense of things that were going on, and he felt like he wasn't getting an answer. And kind of out of defiance, he shared, he goes, God, if you're not going to talk to me, then I'm going to pray for someone else, and maybe you'll talk to them. And he put his hand on someone who was in Adoration with him and prayed over them. And immediately the person started crying. And he shared in our talk together that he thought, oh gosh, I did something wrong. And so he ran out, he grabbed tissues and came back in. But after both had left the Adoration Chapel, the person whom he had put his hand on went over to him and shared with him that this person had asked God for a sign. I guess they were really struggling with things going on in their life, and they needed God to show them something. And it was in that moment when Blake placed his hand on that person's shoulder, and that person felt like that was God's sign, a comforting sign, an acknowledgement of the pain and the struggles that person was going through. Blake was God's instrument. And he led that story and said that, he shared that story, and he said that one thing that as Catholics we can do better is pray together. Not just praying for, but praying with. He said in Adoration, he goes, I don't know if this is popular or not, but gosh, in Adoration, what he likes to do is to pray for the people who are in there with him. And I thought that's a really beautiful thing. You've got a community of people, however many it is, taking time out of their day to spend time with Jesus Christ. And that's really special. And the fact that there are people out there who are willing to do that, that's a really great thing. And so he said that what he does during Adoration, he prays with them. And he goes, maybe it's uncomfortable. Well, so anyway, fast forward, I'm at Adoration, or I'm in Adoration today, and I was thinking about Blake's remarks about praying for others, praying with others, and then doing it during Adoration. And there were a few people dispersed throughout the church, and it's a good-sized church. And I thought, I don't know if I'm comfortable enough doing that yet. And so I prayed and I thought about it, and I thought, God, if you want me to, please call me to do it, but I don't feel comfortable yet. And that took a few moments, like for me to act at all. It took a few moments. But even my action wasn't really exactly what Blake said. Instead of going and praying with someone, I just prayed for everyone who was in the church together. And I asked God, if these are people, since these are people who are taking time out of their busy day to come spend time with you, to build that relationship with you, then these are good people. These are people who are longing for you, right? Jesus Christ in the Blessed Sacrament, when we go there during Adoration, that's us spending time with him. It's no different than how we would spend time with a friend, obviously with the exception that he's God, but we would take time out of our days to go spend time with a friend. to talk to him, to listen to him speak back to us, and to continue to grow and build that relationship. Here I am sitting or kneeling in this parish with, 10, 12 other people who are taking time out of their day to spend time with Jesus Christ. And I prayed to God and I said, if these people are in here, that's special. And God, I ask that you bless them. Whatever struggles or challenges that they're experiencing in their life right now, I ask that you put your hand over them and that you bless them, that you guide them, that you protect them, that you give them comfort. And almost immediately after I had finished that prayer, there was a gentleman who was sitting a few pews behind me, to my back left. And I didn't see, but I heard someone walk in from the side. And the gentleman sitting behind me said, "Oh, Father Dennis," I think he said, "Father Dennis." And you could tell by the excitement. Now, granted, it's adoration, so you kind of have people like turning around thinking, who's talking? Because it's a quiet time, obviously, and people are in prayer. And it was fine that it wasn't much of a distraction, the fact that he was talking, because what I heard next was really, really special. It was really moving. You could tell that he was not expecting to see the priest there, this particular priest at least, and it sounded like they hadn't seen each other in a really long time, like there had been some disconnect. And he said, "Gosh, Father, I'm so glad to see you. I'm so glad you're here. And it's been a really long time, and I haven't been to confession." And they're starting to walk away, like out of the chapel, so that people who are in there praying could still pray in a quiet space. But I'm catching bits and pieces of the conversation, and I hear him saying, "I haven't been in confession a long, and I've been really busy, and I know I haven't been to Mass in a while, but gosh, I loved your homilies, and I'm just so glad that you came in right now. I wasn't expecting that. And man, I've just been going through some really tough times." And I thought, wow, not only did a priest come in, but it's this priest that this man had, a real respect for, a real connection with. And a couple moments later, I finish my prayer. I've got to get back to work. I walk out of the chapel, and in the kind of lobby area of the church, I see and I walk past the man and the priest again. And I hear him just actually, I think, confessing. And the priest took time out of his day to stop. And priests are really busy. If I don't know every single priest and their entire schedule, but I know that they're busy. And he stopped and he took a moment to hear this man, to listen to him, to spend time with him. And I'm pretty confident there was a confession going on. And the peace that comes along with confession, gosh, if you haven't been to confession in a long time, I'm speaking to myself here too. If you haven't been to confession in a long time, got to go back. The peace and the comfort and the calm, the ease of mind that comes from confession, that comes from knowing that God has forgiven your sins. God realizes that here you are. You made a conscious decision to come see him, to come seek him out, to come seek his forgiveness. And then he forgives you because he knows where your heart is. He knows we're not perfect, right? Whatever the man did, been away from church for a while, hasn't been in confession, hasn't been to Mass, whatever it is, God is so merciful. He knows that guy, me, you, and everyone else are imperfect. But he's so loving and he's so ready for us to come back to him. And I can't help but think that at least a little bit of God gracing, God blessing that man with the priest coming in at that moment had to do with the prayer. And maybe it was coincidence, but maybe not. I believe that God answers prayers. I believe that God hears us and he answers our prayers. And it may not always be when we want it. It may not always be the answer that we want, but he does answer us. He hears us. He knows what's in our heart. He knows what's in our mind. And if you've ever been discouraged because you felt like God hasn't answered your prayer, then I encourage you to continue praying, to continue to have faith and trust in God, because God does love you. He loves you so much that he sent his only son, Jesus Christ, to die on a cross for us, so that when we die, we might go to heaven and spend eternity in happiness, in joy, in love with him. Prayer is a powerful thing, and God listens to our prayers. Adoration is a beautiful thing, and I'm so glad I was there. I'm so glad I got to experience that moment. I'm so glad I had an opportunity to be around other people and to pray for other people, even though I didn't go pray with them. Maybe I'll get there next time. But the opportunity to go pray for people that I wasn't even expecting. I just went in there to go spend time with Christ because the last time I went, I felt really good. And it was a New Year's resolution for me to go to Adoration at least once a month. And I'm trying to stay consistent with that. And the great news is every time I go, I feel better. God is a loving God. God hears us. God answers us. It may not always be the answer that we want, but he knows what's in our heart and he knows what's in our mind. I'm praying for all of you guys. Every time I do one of these episodes, when I post things on social media, I pray each day that God guides my messages, whatever it is that I'm saying. I pray that God touches all of your lives. And I pray that God's word continues to spread, because there's so much goodness in the world, and it all comes from him. Everything that's good in your life comes from him. Everything that's good in my life comes from God. Spending time with him, with Jesus Christ in the Blessed Sacrament during adoration, is a way that we can say thank you to him for all that he does for us. Worshiping him is what is owed to him. He doesn't force us to do it, but it's what we should do. And I can be better at it. I know that for sure. I pray that each day God continues to work in my life so that I sin less and that my will is more aligned with his will every single day. None of us will ever be perfect, but God still accepts us. God still wants us. God still calls for us. And he's just waiting for us to respond to his call. Thank you guys for tuning into the Modern Catholic Life podcast. I'm Dallas. Have a blessed day. Thanks again for tuning into the Modern Catholic Life podcast. For more content sharing the truth, beauty, and goodness of the Catholic faith, you can follow, like, and subscribe to our Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, and Facebook by searching @Modern Catholic Life. We'll see you next time.